But I'm saying, somebody say, stop it right there. Stop it right there, because this going to help me jump into my other subject. Go back there. Stop. Who is that?
Where?
Maker Room 4Ja-F3D. Cory 100 obsessed with gay drama. Leave that for the birds. I would say to that person right there, you don't understand how much gay drama has taken from my career. I want the world to be aware that these people beefing about everything but are not going to tell you who they are. Me going up against the Backdorian mob is just like in the Bible when David went up against Goliath. I am outnumbered. I'm in a situation where I don't have a chance to win. Do you know the story of David and Goliath?
Yeah.
David was a little guy. Goliath was 9'1". They had giants. Giants are them angels that came down here and fuck regular bitches. Wasn't nobody else to fuck, but back then you could get off fucking a sheep.
Right.
But they didn't want the sheep, even though sheep stick as hell. Yeah. But I'm trying to tell you, David went up against Goliath, and he was the smallest out of all his brothers. Goliath was kicking up dust, making it where everybody paper fucked up on some Debo shit. Just murking motherfuckers. It was ready to be a war over this goddamn Goliath. David took him on. And when he took him on, they tried to give him these weapons like swords and things like that. You know what David said? Righteousness and God is behind me. I don't need none of that. I grab these rocks and fight this big motherfucker. We are fighting Goliath with rocks over here. It ain't no agency coming to bail me out. Everything I do, I gotta bail myself out. When somebody lie on me and say, yo, Cory did this, I got to finance my way out of it, because that's what it comes to, right. Finances. David wind up defeating Goliath with a rock. A little bitty motherfucker. Hit him right here. Pew. Knocked him out, killed him. They was finna go to war over this Goliath because he was Deboing motherfucker.
Yeah.
The Backdorian guys Debo us, man. I'm against all of that. All of that nonsense on the Backdorian side because you're hiding who you are. Now, if you out,
all praises to the Most High Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah HaMashiach Bahashem, Ruach HaKadosh, double honors to the bishops, apostles, and preachers out here pushing and preaching the truth, peace, and salutation to the hopeful elect. I let this play because Cory Holcomb is right. He used 1 Samuel chapter 17, the story about David going against Goliath, as the backdrop to explain this is what he's doing with his platform, with the content that he's putting out here as it relates to going against, like he liked to tag as the Backdorian game, which is the Pride crew, who's, you know, known by the letters. And he's right. He's right. When you go against the system, it's a big entity that you have to deal with. And the people that's ruling this system, that's controlling this matrix, a lot of them are on the Backdorian side. This is how they continue to push their agenda. This is how they control the dynamics of a lot of businesses, a lot of corporations. This is how they control, unfortunately, even with our own people, this is how they control their lives, their careers, even, so to speak, their purposes, because they let it be known you have to go along to get along. You have to get down with the pound town, like Cory say, on the Backdorian side, in order to elevate your career. And he's saying that with his podcast, the 5150 show, he uses as a platform to come out against it because they have been the main proponents who have tried to snuff out, who have tried to hinder, who have tried to impede on the progress, not only of his career, but of his talent. And this is why he's not allowed into certain rooms. And this is why he's not allowed to reach a certain height when it comes to his talent, when it comes to his skill, especially as a comedian, because he refused to get down. Okay? But you have to understand Revelation chapter 11 talks about this. And when they talk about the two prophets that's going to be prophesizing in the street, right? And the city, other words, country, other words, location in the city, that spiritually, I want y'all to pay attention to that, because it was not talking about Sodom as in Genesis 18, Genesis chapter 19, etc. It was not talking about that Sodom. It was talking about a different Sodom. That's why it says in Revelations chapter 11, that spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Okay? And you go check me out. It's over there in Revelation chapter 11. It's around the 8th verse. And it talked about how the people that, the two prophets who went against the system, who went against the beast, who went against the matrix, this same city that's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Again, to reiterate to you, Egypt means house of slavery, house of oppression, and Sodom spiritually speaks to the Backdorian side of the game. So they put these two prophets to death. I'm making it relevant to you today. They put these two prophets to death because the two prophets stood against what the city that was spiritually called Sodom and spiritually called Egypt represented. And that's what it is here today, here in America. When you refuse to go along, when you make up in your mind to take a stand, when you make up in your mind to stand for the truth, and you willing not only to put your life on the line, but your career, your talent, your skill, whatever the case may be on the line, this is what you're going to have to deal with. This is what you're going to have to deal with. And you're going to be, like Cory Holcomb used as a backdrop, like David, going against a Goliath, because this thing is big. This matrix system is big because it's controlled by these people that's on the Backdoria side of the game. And this is nothing new underneath the sun, as Ecclesiastes tell us, because when you even go back and look at the Rome Empire, when they was in charge, according to the prophecy of Daniel and what have you, you'll kind of understand that the people in Rome, the senators, the emperors, right? The military elites, they all was part of male-on-male relationships. It was common among them. Okay? You can fact check me. This is all part of history. And they usually, watch this, they usually had boys as slaves for their pleasure. This is the Roman Empire. And when you really sit down and study Revelation with a spiritual care, you'll realize that when they talk about the beast, the second beast, right, that was wounded but began to come alive again, it's talk about how Rome was rebuilt and now is sitting upon many waters. The great whore that's sitting upon many waters. And it talk about how the great whore using wine and causing others to become drunk with the wine of her fornication. This beast that was wounded but then revived is talking about Rome being revived through who? Here in America. And that's why you see a lot of these elites, a lot of these people that's in control, a lot of these people that's controlling the dynamics of a lot of things as it relates to this system That's why they are on the Backdorian side. And when you make up in your mind to stand against them, you're going to be like David against Goliath, because it's a big system. But you just got to have faith. You got to be able to pick up stones to be able to go to war, okay? And the greatest stone you better make sure you have is Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. That's why the scriptures over in Mark chapter 12, okay? And I believe it's Psalms 118, when they talk about the stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone, huh? That's talking about Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. And the scripture goes on to say, it's the Lord's, it's Yahweh doing, and it's marvelous in our sight. So those stones that David picked up when he went out against Goliath, and I think it's, I don't got the scriptures next to me, but I think it's the 45th verse, okay? Somewhere around there in 1 Samuel chapter 17, when David was rushing against the Goliath, he said, you come against me with a sword, but I come against you in the name of Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. So you better make sure you get this stone who is Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. He's the rock of ages. Okay? And like the old folks used to say, he's a rock in a weary land. You better make sure you know him. Because if you don't know him, you will be swallowed up by this system. You will be swallowed up by these people that's on the Backdorian side of the game. And these same people, these same Edomites, these same people that was ruling and controlling the way of life through the Roman Empire is the same thing that's going on today here in America. Okay? So understand what Cory talking about when he's saying he's like David when he's dealing with these people, right? Because there's not many people that bold enough. There's not many people. We brothers in the truth. We gonna cry loud and spare not, as Isaiah chapter 58 say. We gonna cry loud and spare not, because you got to give your life for this thing. You got to make sure you sealed and secured in this truth. This is our hiding place. But people in his sector of life, you ain't gonna find many people that's willing to stand up for righteousness and go against the system and speak out against the system, right? And be willing to accept whatever repercussions and consequences that's coming along with it. So I appreciate Cory Holcomb for using his platform to deal with truth and deal with the realities of what we are seeing today. But be as it may, to reiterate to you, I want you to know that this modern empire, America, has been ran by the same spirit that ran Rome back in the day. That's why when Apostle Paul wrote his epistles to the saints down in Rome, he dealt with this Backdorian side of the game. He dealt with homosexuality in Romans chapter 1. Go check me out. And that same spirit, like I said, is in this place called America. They are in the top positions, huh? They in the top corporations, at the top of these corporations. They in the politics. They in the Democrats, they in the Republicans. Everywhere you look, they are in the top position because it's a system that's being ran by these people. And they want to use fear, the fear of shadow ban, the fear of censoring you, huh? The fear of even extricating you, putting you in the spirit world, unaliving you. They want to use this fear to keep you quiet. But like Cory Holcomb pointed out, you have to be like David. You better go get your stone. And that stone is Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Okay? So I just had to talk about this real quick. All right? Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for your boy. All right. Peace.